There are a number of different areas for social product development that I think are important. The first can be just collaboration and really enhancing product development collaboration, but I think that can extend on to discovery of new people to collaborate with. I think you can use it for knowledge management, really being able to capture and communicate more information. And I think there are some even more exciting use cases that are going to be a little bit further down the line that are really about the development of community and really generating new intellectual property and gathering voice of customer through social networking techniques. If you think about the amount of knowledge and intellectual property that companies have about their products, about their manufacturing processes, the way they analyze products, all of that information is typically in people's heads. And product development systems and PLM have really had some of the promise of reuse of product ideas. But if you think about really understanding what companies know about their process, being able to record that in places like wikis and blogs that are much more natural ways to share information, and particularly with aging workforces where a lot of that knowledge may be leaving the business, I think it's extremely important to really capture that information, and I think the social computing techniques are really going to be key in being able to do that. I think a great example is if you think about what's typically captured in a PLM system, for example, when a product is brought to market, it's typically the results of the product, the process, and the new product development and what's going to be released to manufacturing. And a lot of the things that didn't make it to the final product, the decisions that were made along the way aren't typically well documented as opposed to the results. And also, if you think about some of the candidates for that product, they may have been some really good technical ideas and really good product candidates that weren't the final release product. So a great example, if you were to say, take a product that had two different technical approaches to it, and as you got closer to making the decision on which one to move into the final product, there was an issue with one. It was a little bit too much on the cutting edge, or maybe the supplier couldn't scale that technology up quickly enough, and you had to go with the other one. And maybe it's not the best one for the product, but it was the most secure and risk-free choice from a supply chain perspective. You may then go back to reproduce that product, come to the next revision, or use that as the basis for the next product 2 years later, and go and copy the results of the first product, as opposed to looking at that second candidate, which was actually better, and finding out that the only reason we walked away from that is because of a supply chain issue that no longer exists. And you could start that as your base point, which would be a much better performing product for the market. Where you really see some of the real power of social product development coming in is beyond the collaboration and the knowledge management, which I think are going to add a tremendous amount of value. But when you think about enabling new business models that really aren't there today, things like replacing focus groups or gathering voice of the customer from going out to online communities, developing communities maybe within the supply base, but also with the consumer or customer community as well, and really trying to develop deep knowledge of what it is that people want in products. Maybe having product managers put some candidate seed ideas out and have different people comment on them and learn through the internet, through these social networks, much better about what's going to make that product really perform in the market before the product's released.